Landman Season 2. Episode 6 throws us straight into chaos. And one wrong move could cost Tommy everything. Galino is no longer just a shadow lurking in the background. He's fully stepping into the spotlight. And his strategy is ruthless. By the end of this episode, you're left wondering, can Tommy survive the manipulation, the betrayal, and the inevitable showdown that's about to explode in front of him? This is the moment where the calm before the storm is gone, and the storm itself is merciless. From the very beginning, Episode 6 wastes no time showing just how deep Galino's influence has seeped into Cam's inner circle. Tommy walks into what should have been a rout in meeting, only to realize that every word says is being twisted, every move he makes carefully monitored. It's immediately clear that Galino has been strategically positioning himself, and the subtle confidence he carries makes him terrifying. While Tommy tries to hold on to his footing to remind Cammy of the trust and respect they've built, Galino's charm and calculated reasoning slowly erode that foundation. You can feel the tension in every interaction. Tommy's normally commanding presence now seems tentative, almost desperate. He's aware that Galino is planting seeds of doubt in Cammy's mind. And even though he senses the danger, he's unsure how to counter it without exposing himself to more risk. Meanwhile, the pressure isn't just from Galino. Tommy is juggling multiple crises. From the lingering threats to medeck operations to the delicate balance of handling Cooper's newfound responsibilities, Cooper's fast-tracked growth in the business mirrors the reckless speed of his personal life. And it constantly reminds me of what's at stake, not just for the company, but for the people he genuinely cares about. In private moments, Tommy's frustration is palpable. He knows he has to protect the company and guide the younger generation. Yet, the tools he relies on, the experience, the negotiation skills, the hard lessons aren't enough when manipulation is layered so intricately. What makes Episode 6 truly gripping is the way it combines Tommy's internal struggle with the external threats that surround him. Every conversation he has with Cammy, every glance at Galino, every decision he tries to make is heavy with consequence. And Cammy, who has been growing into her role as a leader, is now showing the strain of managing an empire while balancing personal loyalty. Her trust in Tommy is being tested, and the cracks start appearing in ways that feel inevitable, but shocking at the same time. Galino doesn't need to push. His strategy is subtle, but deadly. He don't openly attack Tommy. Instead, he strategically places Tommy in positions where every choice seems wrong, every action misinterpreted. Watching Tommy navigate these minefields is nerve-wracking because you can feel the pressure building. And then there's the moment where Galino's manipulation hits its peak. A calculated conversation where he frames his actions as protective, casting Tommy's guidance in a suspicious light. You can practically hear the gears turning in Cammy's mind, weighing every word and action. The suspense is suffocating because you know that one misstep from Tommy could allow Galino to completely rewrite Cammy's perception, and with it the power dynamics of MTAX. Yet even as the tension rises, there are flashes of Tommy's brilliance. The quick thinking, the instinctive moves, the rare moments of clarity where he identifies the exact lever to pull, the precise truth to reveal to counter the deception. But Galino is always one step ahead, and these moments of genius are fleeting. Layered over all of this is the underlying fear. Tommy knows that this isn't just about business. It's personal. Galino is encroaching one thing that matters to him. From Cammy's trust to the legacy of the company itself. Every decision is now a gamble with consequences far beyond what Tommy could have imagined at the start of the season. And just when it feels like Tommy might regain control, Episode 6 hits another turning point that shifts the entire board. A subtle miscommunication, a carefully placid suggestion by Galino. And suddenly Tommy is not just fighting to save MTAX. He's fighting to preserve the relationships, the respect, and the authority he's built over years. The stakes are made even higher by the episode's pacing. There's no downtime, no relief. Just a continuous build-up of tension that makes you feel like the walls are closing in alongside Tommy. You see the mental and emotional toll it's taking. The way every interaction feels like a test has failing by the slightest margin. Episode 6 expertly balances the high-stakes business maneuvering with deeply personal confrontations, and that combination makes every scene feel like a ticking time bomb. As episode 6 continues, the tension doesn't let up for a second, and Tommy's world feels like it's slipping further out of his control. Galino's influence over Cammy is becoming increasingly obvious. He's so careful, so precise that it's almost invisible to everyone else. And that makes it all the more dangerous. Tommy's attempts to reason with Cammy to remind her of the loyalty and experience brings to the table are now met with skepticism, subtle doubt, and moments of cold calculation that weren't there before. Cammy is growing more confident in her leadership. Yes, but Galino's words have planted seeds that twice every action Tommy takes. It's not an outright betrayal yet, but the cracks in their partnership are widening, and the suspense is relentless because you can feel that the moment of real collision is coming fast. Meanwhile, the business side of MTEX is teetering on a knife's edge. The fallout from the offshore project still lingers. Insolvency completion remain unresolved, and every new deal or opportunity seems to carry hidden pitfalls that could destroy the company in an instant. Tommy has to think about not just the present, but cascading effects of every decision, while Galino sits back, patient, letting Tommy exhaust himself trying to maintain control. Cooper's storyline adds an extra layer of intensity to the episode. His accelerated involvement in the business, combined with his personal whirlwind romance with Ariana, mirrors the chaos Tommy is trying to contain. The parallels between Cooper's reckless confidence and Tommy's cautious, calculated approach highlight the generational tension and raise the stakes for Tommy. He's not just fighting for authority. He's fighting to shape the future of the company in a way that preserves integrity and avoids catastrophic mistakes. And yet, even with all the stress, Tommy shows those brief moments of brilliance that keep him a step ahead of complete disaster. The audience can't help but root for him as he navigates the complicated enigma. From Cam's Changan perspective to Galino's manipulations, and even the subtle undercurrents in Thibaram that could tip the balance at any second. There's a particular kindling sequence in episode 6 where Galino subtly shifts the focus, making Tommy appear overbearing, old-fashioned, and out of touch. Not through lies, but beframing the truth in a way that sows distrust. You can almost see Tommy's frustration boiling under the surface, his sharp mind trapped in a game that constantly feels one move ahead of him. Cammy's responses in these moments are measured but telling. She's learning to see through Galino in parts, yet there's still hesitation, still a glimmer of doubt, and that makes every interaction a high-stakes chess match. At the same time, Tommy is forced to confront uncomfortable truths about his own approach. He realizes that even his experience can't solve every problem when deception is layered so thickly around him. He has to adapt, improvise, and anticipate moves he hasn't seen before, all while managing the emotional weight of losing trust that he once thought was unbreakable. And this suspense is amplified by the constant tension between what's spoken and what's left unsaid. Every glance, every pause, every carefully chosen word feels loaded. And as viewers, we're acutely aware that one wrong interpretation could ignite a chain reaction that Tommy won't be able to control. Galino's tactics are subtle but masterful. He never attacks directly. Yet, every suggestion, every insight he shares nudges both Tommy and Cammy into positions where they second-guess themselves. By now, it's clear that the real battle isn't about contracts, leases, or business strategies. It is about trust, perception, and control. And just when you think the pressure can't escalate any further, episode 6 drops another narrative twist that shakes the foundation of everything Tommy has been fighting for. A private conversation between Cammy and Galino, a subtle suggestion about Tommy's loyalty, and suddenly the dynamic changes again. Tommy senses it immediately. The shift in Cammy's tone, the hesitation in her decisions, the invisible barrier forming between them. He tries to counteract it, but the episode masterfully portrays how exhausting it is to fight someone who seems to always be 2 steps ahead while he also being a trusted confidant. And while the tension is intense on the corporate and personal fronts, the episode also skillfully weaves in the consequence of Tommy's past decisions. The choices he made thinking they were the right ones, the risks he took to protect people, and how those very decisions now leave him vulnerable to manipulation. It's a brilliant interplay of suspense, emotional stakes, and strategic maneuvering that makes episode 6 one of the most thrilling installments yet. By the midpoint of episode 6, the pressure surrounding Tommy reaches a breaking point, and it becomes painfully clear that Galino's endgame is no longer subtle. It's strategic domination. Tommy begins to realize that this isn't just about replacing him as Cam's right-hand man. It's about isolating him completely, stripping away his influence until he has no leverage left. Every conversation now feels like a test, especially the ones where Galino is present, calmly steering discussions while Tommy struggles to maintain authority without appearing defensive. Cammy, caught between loyalty and survival, starts making decisions that subtly exclude Tommy. And those moments hit hard because they signal a deeper shift in power. Tommy notices it in the way meetings are structured, in how information reaches him later than Ida's too, and in how Galino's voice carries more weight with every passing scene. At the same time, Cooper's storyline intensifies in a way that mirrors Tommy's internal chaos. Cooper is beginning to understand that adulthood isn't just about ambition or confidence. It's about responsibility, sacrifice, and consequences. His engagement to Ariana suddenly feels severe, more real, especially when the realities of parenthood start to sink in. These moments serve as a quiet but powerful contrast to Tommy's struggle, highlighting the generational gap and reinforcing the theme that rushing in power, whether in business or love, comes with a cost. Back on Tommy's front, the emotional toll of being silent becomes impossible to ignore. This is a man who has built his career in control, foresight, and experience, and now he's being forced into a reactive position. Galino exploits this brilliantly, never raising his voice, never appearing aggressive, but constantly reframing Tommy's caution as fear and his experience as outdated thinking. It's manipulation at its finest. And the suspense comes from watching Tommy slowly realize how carefully he's being boxed in. There's a haunting sense that no matter what he does, Galino already has a counter ready. Cammy's growing reliance on Galino feels both understandable and tragic. She's fighting to protect her late husband's legacy while drowning in legal threats and financial pressure, and Galino presents himself as certainty in a world of chaos. Tommy, on the other hand, represents hard truths and painful caution. And episode 6 forces Cammy to choose between comfort and consequence. One of the most gripping aspects of this section is how Tommy begins questioning his own instincts. For the first time, he wonders whether his methods still work in a world that's evolving faster than he can control. That doubt becomes Galino's most powerful weapon. Because he and Tommy starts second-guessing himself, every decision becomes heavier, slower, and riskier. The tension escalates further when Galino subtlines that Cammy's future success depends on distancing herself from old systems, a phrase that unmistakably pins to Tommy. The audience can feel betrayal brewing, even if it hasn't fully erupted yet. And just when it seems like Tommy might finally expose Galino's true intentions, circumstances twist against him once again. A misinterpreted conversation, a poorly timed intervention, and suddenly Tommy looks like the obstacle rather than the protector. These moments are devastating because they show how quickly perception can override truth. Cooper's arc brief lighter six with Tommy's struggle here as Tommy tries to guide him through both business and personal responsibility, only to realize that even his role as a mentor is slipping. It's a quiet but painful realization that underscores how much control Tommy has already lost. Episode 6 excels at building dread rather than delivering immediate explanations. The danger lies in what's being prepared behind the scenes, not what's openly stated. Galino's confidence grows as Tommy's influence shrinks and Cammy's silence becomes louder than any argument. The ending of Landman Season 2, Episode 6 lands like a quiet explosion. Not because of one shocking event, but because of how everything finally clicks into place at once. By this point, Tommy understands something he's been avoiding all episode long. Galino has already won the first real battle. The rodeo outing becomes the moment where that truth is impossible to ignore. Standing beside Kimmy and Galino, Tommy isn't just physically out of place, he's symbolically erased. Conversations flow around him. Decisions are hinted at without him. And Galino uses the setting perfectly, presenting himself as relaxed, confident, and aligned with Cammy's vision for the future. Tommy watches it happen in real time, and the pain of it isn't loud or dramatic. It is subtle, humiliating, and deeply personal. Galino doesn't need to attack Tommy anymore because Cammy's behavior tells the whole story. She defers to Galino, laughs with him, trusts him, and most importantly listens to him. Tommy realizes that the doubt Galino planted earlier has fully taken root, and there is no simple conversation that can undo it. When Galino privately speaks to Tommy and suggests that Cammy may soon replace him, it's not framed as a threat. It's framed as an inevitability. That's what makes it so devastating. Galino presents himself as the future and Tommy as the past. And for the first time, Tommy can't confidently argue against it. Meanwhile, Cammy's silence speaks volumes. She doesn't defend Tommy, doesn't reassure him, and doesn't correct Galino's framing of events. In that silence, the ending becomes painfully clear. Cammy has already made her emotional decision, even if the official one hasn't been announced yet. The episode closes by reinforcing that Galino's greatest weapon isn't power or money, it's patience. He has successfully positioned himself as indispensable while making Tommy look replaceable. And the terrifying part is that he did it without forcing Cammy's hand. On the other side of the story, Cooper's arc offers a sharp contrast to Tommy's loss of control. As Cooper begins to grasp the reality of becoming a husband and a father figure, his fear mirrors Tommy's in a different way. Both men are facing responsibilities they're not fully prepared for. But where Cooper still has time to grow, Tommy is running out of it. The final moments of the episode leave us with a chilling sense of inevitability. Tommy isn't fired, he isn't confronted, he isn't even openly betrayed. Instead, he's slowly pushed out of the center of the story he helped build. And that is far more unsettling. Episode 6 ends by making one thing painfully clear. Galino's takeover isn't coming, it's already happening. And as the screen fades, the audience is left with the haunting question that will drive the rest of the season forward. Can Tommy reclaim control before he loses everything? Or has the game already been decided? The final stretch of Landman Season 2, Episode 6 feels less like a conclusion and more like a warning because everything that has been slowly building finally locks into place. By this point, Tommy understands something devastating. Galino doesn't need to remove him directly. He only needs to make him irrelevant, and that realization hits harder than any argument or confrontation ever could. The episode's ending carefully strips Tommy of the authority he once carried so effortlessly, replacing it with silence, hesitation, and distance. Cammy's behavior in these final moments confirms what Tommy has feared all along. Her trust has shifted. She no longer looks to him first, no longer seeks his approval before making decisions. And that shift alone tells us everything we need to know about who is truly winning this battle. Galino, meanwhile, remains calm, composed, and terrifyingly confident. He doesn't celebrate, doesn't gloat, and that's what makes his victory so unsettling. He speaks as if the outcome was inevitable, as if Tommy's downfall was never personal, just necessary. And in a twisted way, that makes him feel even more dangerous because he genuinely believes he is doing what's best for Cammy and the company, even if it means burning every bridge along the way. The ending also forces us to confront Cammy's emotional state. She isn't cruel, and she isn't blind. She's overwhelmed, grieving, and exhausted, carrying the weight of her husband's legacy while being hunted by legal threats and financial collapse. In that fragile state, Galino represents certainty, action, and survival, while Tommy represents risk, caution, and painful truths. And when survival is on the line, people don't always choose what's right. They choose what feels possible. That choice becomes painfully clear in final exchange, where Cammy's words, though controlled, create an unbridgeable gap between her and Tommy. There's no dramatic explosion, no shouting match, just a quiet confirmation that things will never go back to the way they